don't notice the 2026 Hummer H3 all at once. You feel it first, like a change in pressure in the air, the way a room subtly reorganizes itself when someone with gravity walks in. Standing beside it, there's a sense that this vehicle isn't trying to impress you. It's simply existing, unapologetically, and daring you to decide how close you want to stand. The emotion isn't excitement or nostalgia, it's steadiness. It's the feeling of something built with a clear point of view, unconcerned with trends or approval. As you step directly in front of it, the face of the H3 meets you at eye level with a quiet intensity. The front doesn't smile, doesn't scowl. It holds its expression the way a seasoned professional does in a serious conversation. The grille feels more like a barrier than a decoration, a broad surface that suggests readiness rather than aggression. Light doesn't sparkle here, it settles. The way the surfaces catch the sun feels intentional, almost architectural, like concrete warmed by afternoon light. You're not being pulled in, you're being held at a respectful distance.
Stance does most of the talking.
Width feels grounded, planted, as if the vehicle has already decided where it belongs and isn't planning to move unless it wants to. There's a sense of posture you usually associate with someone standing straight without trying to appear tall. The hood stretches forward with confidence, not length for the sake of drama, but enough mass to communicate capability. Even at a standstill, it feels prepared, like boots laced before a long walk rather than sneakers waiting by the door. What stands out is the restraint. This is a design that could easily have leaned into excess, but instead it chooses discipline. The surfaces are firm, the edges purposeful. There's no unnecessary flourish asking for attention. That restraint creates authority in the same way a calm voice can quiet a room faster than shouting ever could. The H3 doesn't need to announce strength. It lets proportion and intent do that work quietly. There's a human quality to it, but not in the way most vehicles are described. This doesn't feel like an athlete or a bodybuilder. It feels more like a seasoned field engineer, someone who has spent years solving real problems, carrying the marks of experience without wearing them as trophies. The design suggests familiarity with rough environments, but also comfort with patience. It looks like it understands waiting, enduring, and showing up again tomorrow without complaint. As you move around the front corner, the way light slides along the side panels reinforces that impression. The body doesn't ripple or twist. It remains composed, almost stoic. The scale becomes clearer here. This isn't about being tall for dominance. It's about occupying space honestly. The vehicle feels wide enough to feel secure, tall enough to feel capable, and shaped in a way that suggests balance rather than bulk. There's a subtle confidence in how the H3 wears its heritage without leaning on it. You can sense echoes of the brand's history, but they're woven into the design rather than stamped onto it. It feels like a continuation of an idea rather than a reenactment. That subtlety matters, especially to buyers who value authenticity over nostalgia. This isn't trying to remind you of the past. It's acknowledging it quietly and then moving forward. As you continue along the side, the doors feel like solid planes rather than decorative panels. The windows don't feel oversized or theatrical. They feel practical, proportioned, human. It's the kind of design that suggests visibility and awareness, not isolation. The H3 doesn't feel like a fortress you hide inside. It feels like a tool you operate with intention. When you reach the rear, the emotional tone shifts. The front was about presence and resolve. The back is about reassurance. There's a sense of follow-through here, like a firm handshake after a serious conversation. The rear doesn't taper away nervously. It holds its shape, suggesting stability and reliability. The light elements here feel calm, almost reassuring, like a signal that everything is under control. Standing behind it, you don't think about speed or performance. You think about distance, about days that stretch on and roads that don't always cooperate. The H3 feels like it would move away from you with a steady pace, unhurried, confident in its ability to get where it's going. It doesn't feel like it needs to prove anything as it leaves. It feels like it expects to arrive. There's something grounding about imagining it pulling away slowly, its mass translating into momentum without drama. The sound you imagine isn't sharp or aggressive. It's muted, deliberate, like the closing of a heavy door that seals with a reassuring finality. You get the sense that once it's gone, it won't leave a feeling of absence. It will leave a feeling of assurance, like knowing something dependable is still out there, doing its job. This vehicle seems designed for people who measure confidence differently, not in acceleration times or visual theatrics, but in how something makes you feel at the end of a long day. The H3 feels like it would still make sense when the novelty wears off, when the weather turns, when plans change. It communicates a kind of reliability that isn't loud, but deeply felt. As a whole, the 2026 Hummer H3 presents itself with clarity. It understands its role and doesn't overstep it. There's strength here, but it's contained. There's presence, but it's controlled. The design psychology isn't about domination for its own sake. It's about trust. Trust that the vehicle will be ready when asked, and calm enough not to demand attention when it's not needed. In a market filled with vehicles trying to be everything at once, the H3's confidence comes from knowing exactly what it is. It doesn't chase approval. It doesn't borrow personality. It stands firmly in its own identity, offering reassurance through form, posture, and restraint. And as it moves away, not quickly, not dramatically, it leaves behind a clear impression. This is a vehicle built to endure, to accompany, and to remain steady long after louder voices have faded.